Have you ever stopped to ask, what if pollution actually had a price tag? What if every time a factory, car, or power plant releases carbon into the air, someone has to pay for it? Well, in today's world, that price already exists and it's changing how businesses and countries think about the environment. Let's break it down simply. Now, imagine two companies in the same industry. One is releasing a large amount of carbon into the atmosphere from its factory, and the other is busy investing in solar energy, planting trees, and reducing emissions. Here is where it gets interesting. Both companies are part of a system where pollution has a value and environmental action also has value. That system is built around carbon credits, carbon markets, and the cost of carbon. Let's break it down clearly so that every one of us can actually have a full knowledge of what cost of carbon mean, carbon credit, and carbon markets. I believe some of us must have heard these things on a normal day, but we wonder, what does it mean? How does it work? Okay, now what is carbon credit? A carbon credit is a certified unit that represents 1 ton of carbon dioxide that has been reduced, avoided, or removed completely from the atmosphere. Think of it this way: a carbon credit is a proof that somewhere in the world an activity has helped reduce pollution. Now, the next question will be, how are carbon credits generated? Good. Carbon credits comes from projects that reduce emission or remove carbon from the atmosphere, such as deforestation and tree planting. Think of it this way: when we plant trees, trees absorb carbon dioxide as they grow. For example, if a project plants enough trees that can absorb 5,000 tons of carbon dioxide, it can be said that that project has generated 5,000 carbon credits. Another way we can generate carbon credits is through renewable energy projects. When solar, wind, and hydroelectric power replace fossil fuels. For example, a solar farm that prevents 10,000 tons of carbon dioxide emission by replacing diesel generators can earn 10,000 carbon credits. Another way we can generate carbon credits is through clean cooking solution. Efficient cook stove reduce firewood use and emissions. For example, if improved cook stoves reduce 1,000 tons of carbon dioxide, that becomes 1,000 carbon credits. Carbon credits turn environmental action into a measurable unit that can be tracked and traded. And that brings me to the next point, because I know you might be wondering right now, so what do I do with carbon credits when I have it? And that's where carbon market comes in. Now, the question is, what is carbon market? Now, the carbon market is a system where carbon credits are being traded, where carbon credits are being bought and sold. It works like a financial marketplace, similar to commodities or stock. But instead of oil or gold, the product is emission reduction. Now, this is how it works. When a climate project reduces emission and generates carbon credits, these credits are verified and certified. Then companies that emit carbon, especially companies that emit carbon way more than what they are allowed to emit, buy these credits. Then the money flows back to environmental projects. Take for instance, when a factory emits more carbon dioxide than allowed, instead of stopping production immediately, it buys carbon credit. Then a deforestation project in another place or country get paid for absorbing that carbon dioxide. That way, pollution in one place is balanced by climate action elsewhere. Now, we have different types of carbon markets. We have the compliance market, which is regulated. It's controlled by governments or international agreements. Companies are legally required to reduce emission. If they exceed limits, they must buy carbon credits. Take for instance, a power plant exceeds its emission limit and is required by law to purchase credits. We also have the voluntary market. Here, companies participate willingly to sustainable environmental projects such as tree plantings and every other project that really absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. For example, a tech company offsets its emission by buying credits from renewable energy projects. Now, let's look at another term known as cost of carbon, because you might be wondering, why do we even have the system in the first place? Yes, this is why we have the system in the first place. The cost of carbon is also known as social cost of carbon. It is the estimated economic damage caused by emitting 1 ton of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Now, what damage are we even talking about? Carbon emission contributes to rising sea level and flooding, extreme heat waves, reduced agricultural productivity, health problems from air pollution, economic losses from climate disaster. For example, if scientists estimate that 1 ton of carbon dioxide causes $50 worth of damage, then 1,000 tons of carbon dioxide is equal to 50,000 in environmental damage. The cost of carbon makes pollution visible in economic terms even if we cannot physically see it happening. It answers one big question: what is society paying for every ton of carbon released? In summary, cost of carbon, it shows that pollution causes real economic damage. Now, carbon credits, a measurable unit created when emissions are reduced or removed. Then we have the carbon market, which is a marketplace where credits are bought and sold. Then, what can companies do? Now, companies can either reduce emission or pay for emission by buying credits. This entire system is built on one idea: pollution has a cost, climate action has value, and both can be measured in economic terms. So, we are slowly shifting from pollution is free to pollution has a price. Now, I will leave us with these few words. The carbon system is not just about environmental policy, it is a global economic structure that connects industry, finance, climate science, sustainability. And at the center of it all, the simple idea is what we release into our environment, our atmosphere today, has a cost. We all eventually pay. Even if we don't know about it, we shall pay for it. Thank you. See you next time. I hope you're going to take climate action seriously. You're going to take whatever that has to do with your environment seriously. Remember, if you cannot make it better, please do not make it worse. See you next time. Bye.